Next, we're going to talk a little bit about the different types of things that you might run into while you're up there and how wind affects an airplane, techniques to navigate your airplane. We don't know how windy it's going to be. Remember, if it is super windy in Tucson that day, there is a chance that we will not be able to fly. Keep that in mind. There's a chance there will be light wind. You need to be able to expect that that might happen and then find out ways to fix that. So if wind is coming from the right, it blows the airplane right. If it's coming from the left, it blows to the left. So what you might have to do to correct that is you have to turn into the wind. So if your plane is turning right because of the wind, then you need to steer a little bit left to then balance it out. And again, it goes the same with the other way too. The next is point F here, that's dead reckoning techniques. Dead reckoning is the use of available information to figure out where you are during the flight. So let's say, looking at your Tucson map, that you know you're not in Green Valley and you know you're not to Nogales yet, but you don't know where you are along this line. That's where you can use dead reckoning. So there's a couple different techniques you can use with that, different annotations you can actually put on your map. You can mark time. So remember how we calculated distance and time? So you can actually put little tick marks, like every 5 minutes is usually pretty normal, so that you know, okay, we've gone 10 minutes past Green Valley, so we should be about here, or we should be about here, something like that. Another way is, well, that was the most common way, and using time ticks every 5 minutes will show you whether you're ahead or behind schedule. Therefore, it will tell you if you are going faster or slower than what was planned. The next is using distance ticks. So this can also be used with time ticks. You can do distant ticks with time ticks, or you can just do distant ticks. But again, it's to check whether you are ahead or behind schedule. Targets. You can also mark towns, airports, and geographic points or towers on or near the course. And when you reach the targets, you can tell if you are on or off course or schedule. So for instance, on our Tucson map, we're really lucky because we can see different mountains. So you know if you're going from Green Valley to Nogales, if you're over the top of a mountain, you're about halfway there. If that makes sense. Note. Time ticks, distance ticks, and targets are all spots marked on the chart so that the pilot can refer to them and verify the progress that's been made by comparing the chart to the terrain being flown over. So once you're in the air, you will have to use your map reading to see if you are on or off course. You will actually be taking this on the flight, and your pilot will be asking you, are we on course or are we off course? And this is how you're going to know. So map reading is definitely the easiest way to navigate an airplane because it involves just looking out of the airplane to compare your actual position with what was planned. Going back to my mountain example, that's kind of what they're talking about here. Before your flight, it's very important to study your map and figure out what you should be looking for during your flight. So going back to your Tucson map, we know that if we're going from here to here, we're looking for a mountain of some kind. If we're going here to here, we're looking for other things that are going over here. Yes, there will be a mountain, but it should be to the west of you. So if it's always to the west of you, you know you're on course. Also, if you might want to look at some other of the little bits of writing to see what else is around. Same going in the other directions as well. If you notice right here, it says that there should be some fairgrounds. You should be able to see that from the sky. Okay, so mark some of the things that you might be looking for. Airports, of course, roads or highways, like I said, the fairgrounds or mountain peaks, things like that. Just maybe use a highlighter and circle those areas so you know exactly what to look for when you're up in that flight and your instructor asks you, are we on course? And you can say, of course we are, because I just saw that mountain head and I know that's between those 2 points. Also, they don't need to be directly on course, but they need to be near the planned course. So like I said, the fairgrounds aren't exactly on our line or our course line, but we know that it's really, really close and we know what direction it will be in once we're in the plane. By using targets, you can determine where you are, if you're going faster or slower than planned, or if you are on or off course. So then you have an assignment to do before Wright Flight Day. Obviously, you want to keep all of your flight plans and charts because you're going to actually use them on the flight. You are free to mark up the charts any way that you want, but please be neat. Don't clutter up the chart with a bunch of information that you don't need. This looks very neat and organized. If I highlighted a few little things to look for, that's about it that I would want on that map, or it just gets cluttered. And when I were to look at this, when you're flying, you're going to be really busy. Obviously, you're looking at a bunch of different instruments. So you don't want to look at this map and go, oh my gosh, I have no idea where I should be looking. You should be able to look at it and know exactly what you're supposed to be looking for. The next class is going to be where you're going to take your final quiz. You can take your notebooks home at this time after this class to study. You need to get at least an 85%. No, Mason and Jeremiah, if you get an 84, that's not passing. So 85 or better. Test materials will come from lessons 1 through 7. Be sure that you can measure course and distances, plot points, know basic pieces of compasses and instruments. And if you review your weekly quizzes, you should be just fine. There's also a boldface quiz that's all about the boldfaces, but we can give this later on. Don't worry about boldfaces when you're studying for the actual exam itself.